remember to stay hydrated. And today we're going to be talking about a bunch of different Civivi models and why I think these are fantastic gift ideas. Let's get it. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Everyday Minimalist. My name is Brandon and I hope you're having a great day. If you're new here to the channel, I review knives, EDC gear, and then a bunch of other products. So if you're interested in seeing more, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell icon so you know when that next video is live. First things first, guys, I just wanted to address my background situation here. I am actually going to be moving into my new studio here within the next coming weeks, so I'm already starting to pack up. So I apologize in advance if you guys just see some random Home Depot packing boxes and stuff like that. This is going to be a ginormous move and I really appreciate your guys' patience. In this video, we're going to be talking about a bunch of different Civivi models. There's going to be 6 models, in fact, that we're going to be going through. And I'm going to tell you the positives and the negatives for each individual knife and why I think this is going to be the best option for you. This video is not going to be sponsored by Civivi or anyone else, so I can be 100% transparent with you guys. Let's get right into it. This is the first model on the list, the Civivi Oris. This guy's going to be retailing for about $50. You've got 9CR18 MOV blade steel, black G10 scales. You got a black G10 backspacer, deep carry pocket clip that is going to be reversible. And then what makes this one stand out from the rest of these models is going to be this cut through fuller. So you can actually do a reverse Spidey flick. It is going to be in that relatively small / medium tier in terms of overall size. You have a front finger choil so you can really choke up and get those really nice ergonomics. It's got a pretty decent hollow grind, and I think this is going to be a good knife if you are capped at about $50. My biggest gripe for this knife is going to be the aesthetics when this thing is concealed. I just don't really like this kind of rounded area here on the bottom of the scales, and I think it looks kind of funny, but aside from that, action is great, detent is awesome, it is running off of caged bearings, and yeah, I mean, overall this thing is pretty fun to fidget with, and if you're at $50, this is the one I would recommend going for. The next one on the list is the Civivi Badlands. This guy is going to be very similar to the Oris, as a matter of fact. I think they actually share like the same exact scale. So I don't also like the actual aesthetics when it's concealed, but on the Badlands, I also do not like the overall aesthetics. This guy is also going for about $50, but the biggest gripe on this one is not only does it have that rounded handle, but the blade to handle ratio is just not really nice. I feel like the blade is a little too small, and that's something that the Oris does have a little bit to an advantage of over the Badlands. The blade is a little bit more sexy and refined with the Oris versus the Badlands. This is still a pretty good knife. I mean, in terms of ergonomics, it's great. You also do have that front finger choil. This one does have thumb studs, so it's a little bit easier to do that forward thumb flick as well as a reverse flick. But this is probably going to be at the bottom of the list in terms of aesthetics and overall features. The next one on the list is going to be one of my favorites. This is the new Civivi Brazen with the JG10 scales and Tonto blade shape. You've got D2 steel and then again those JG10 handles, but what really makes this one really special against the other models we have here is going to be the overall action. Just look at how drop shutty it is. Like, I'm not even trying here and it just drops shuts. It might be because of the Tonto blade shape, because this is going to be a pre-release version. Here's the original Brazen, and this is the purple G10 version with the drop point style blade. Still D2 steel, and it still does have a pretty decent action, but I feel like that Tonto blade is really kind of hefty and bringing it to the point where this thing just is a complete guillotine. This is going to be more so a medium to full-size knife, and it does have some jimping here up top on the blade spine. You've got thumb studs as well as a flipper tab. It feels absolutely fantastic in the hand. I think the only thing that they could potentially improve on is if they added in a larger finger choil here up top so you can actually choke into your cuts. Another thing I don't really love about this knife is going to be this backspacer here. It does have a lanyard cutout, and I don't really add on lanyards to my knives, so I would prefer to just have have that as a flat piece for a backspacer versus having this cut through. You do have milled out liners here, so it is going to be kind of that more light aspect. The blade is probably going to be the most heavy part about the knife, and I do really recommend grabbing one of these, whether it be the newer Tonto version when those come out or the drop point version. These retail for about 50 bucks, and this would be my #1 pick in the $50 price point. Next up on the list is going to be this brand new guy here. This is the Civivi Cogent. From my understanding, this is also a pre-production model. This is Civivi's new push button lock knife. The only other push button locking mechanism Civivi knife that I know of is the push button Civivi Elementum. I've never actually handled that knife, and it sounds like it's pretty terrible because the only way that you can open it up is by pushing the button and flicking it out like this. While that is super fidget friendly, it's not super functional. So they did add on a flipper tab here where you can go ahead and flip it open just like that. The Cogent does retail for about 80 bucks. I'm not a super huge fan of the overall aesthetics just because of these milled out pieces here on the G10. It just doesn't look very nice in my opinion. And also this bulge here by the pivot. They may have had to do that just because it is a push button lock, but it just kind of kills the overall aesthetic of the knife. As you know, I like to keep my stuff minimal looking, and we'll get into that other stuff here in just a moment with these next couple knives. This guy is going to be made of 14C28N blade steel, so it's not bad. And overall for 80 bucks, I think they're going in the right direction. If I were to drop $80 on this knife, would I be impressed? Not really, to be honest with you guys, just because there are other knives out there that have the push button locking mechanism for around the same price, but they again are going in the right direction. I just would like to see this be a little bit more minimalistic and not have these ugly, gross, I guess, mill G10 handles. Here's another new model. This is the new Civivi Relic. So the Relic is a really minimalistic type of knife. If you guys haven't already seen the Relic, I bet you already have, because this is the knife with the built-in tweezers. That's what makes this thing a lot more different than your other knives out there, is basically this thing has built-in tweezers that nest between the G10 scale as well as that liner. And then it gets tucked away. I bet if you purchased this knife and didn't know that there were tweezers in there, you probably wouldn't find that until like a year later. I can't tell you how many times I've actually needed a tweezer and there was none in sight, so this is actually pretty nice, especially if you're going to be carrying this a lot. The Relic is going to be priced at about $70. You've got these red G10 scales. I believe there's a blacked out version as well. And then the most important part, the blade steel, you've got Nitro V steel. I think the only other model that had Nitro V before this was going to be that Civivi Nox. I haven't actually checked out the Nox yet. A lot of you guys want me to look into it, so if you want to see more of that, let me know in the comments. But in terms of overall ergonomics, this thing feels great. You do have this kind of forward finger twirl here where you can kind of grip up and get into those more robust tasks. I just really love how minimalistic it is. It just looks super nice. If it had black G10 scales, I think it would be even better, but I'm kind of stuck with the red. Maybe we'll dye those in the future. Overall, this thing is great. The action is amazing. D10 is pretty on point, and the liner lock is easily accessible. It does have a deep carry pocket clip, which is reversible, so you can do left-hand carry. Is it worth it for $70? Absolutely. You guys should definitely check this thing out. Okay, so last but not least, this is the Civivi Bow. This is probably my most favorite Civivi knife on the table at the moment, just because of its minimalistic design traits. The bow is a Brad Zinker design, so if you guys are a Brad Zinker fan, then you'll absolutely love this knife. It is super, super good in terms of D10, and the action is probably what sets this thing apart from the rest. It just fires out with authority, and you don't need a ton of force to actually get this thing deployed. Matter of fact, I actually pass off a bunch of my knives to my buddies at work, and they have a hard time getting these things deployed. They don't know what the light switch method is, where you actually push down on it like a light switch. They'll do this the first time they try to deploy the knife, and it basically just fails, right? With the bow, it has such a good detent where it's just crisp and it opens every single time. I've passed this around to a bunch of my colleagues and friends, and they have not been able to make this thing fail on deployment just yet. I'm just waiting for that day for that person to fail the deployment on this knife, and it just hasn't happened. The Civivi Bow is going to be made of Nitro V steel. You've got this insanely nice polished G10 scale, and that's on both sides. And then also a deep carry pocket clip that is non-reversible. So this is the only Civivi knife that does not have a lefty carry type of pocket clip. It does have some jimping here on the blade spine. It's not very robust, so don't worry about this actually cutting your hands. And I think this is going to be a great knife knife as a gift. It's going to be great for anyone that wants a gents type of carry, if you want an office carry, or if you just want something that's going to be super lightweight, good for cutting boxes and stuff like that. It's super thin behind the edge and it is very slicey. This guy is going for 70 bucks and I really like this knife. But there you guys have it, a bunch of knives from Civivi available now. Don't forget, Civivi is going to be doing that 25 to 40% discount here for Black Friday, so keep your eyes posted. Again, I'll be leaving an affiliate link in the description below. It doesn't cost you guys anything extra to use that link, it just gives my channel a kickback so that way I can keep producing these videos. Before we close out the video, again guys, I'm going to be moving here within the next couple weeks and I'm going to be jam-packed at my full-time job like I mentioned in the previous video, so you may not see another video for a couple weeks. Just bear with me as I get through this. And if you guys enjoyed this content, go ahead, throw me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Aside from that guys, thank you so much for your time today and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.